Hello and welcome to Analyzing a Cruel Angel's Thesis. I will be analyzing the lyrics for the Cruel Angel's Thesis, focusing on three main questions, those being who is singing, what is the thesis question, and what is the thesis answer. And I'll be trying to ascertain the answers to these questions from the lyrics and see what they are trying to tell us and what is the meaning behind them. What is the thesis behind a Cruel Angel's Thesis? I took the lyrics directly from the Evangelion wiki. I did not edit them, even though I do disagree with some parts of the translation, which I will get to when I get to. So, to begin with, we have the beginning. Like a cruel angel, young boy become the legend. We will get to this later. The young boy is obviously Shinji, and the meaning behind this verse, it will be repeated multiple times, will change every time it is said, but for now, all we need to know is that Shinji is the young boy, and like a cruel angel, sets up Shinji as the cruel angel. Maybe. We'll get to that. So, a blue wind is now knocking at the door to your heart, and yet you're merely gazing at me and smiling. The blue wind is Rei. Rei is the blue wind. And Shinji spends pretty much the first half of the show just awkwardly staring at Rei and staring at pretty much everyone, but mostly staring at Rei whenever she's in the room. And he has no clue why or what he's feeling yet, but that is why he's staring at Rei. He's staring at the blue wind knocking at the door to his heart. Me here is also the first clue for our first question of who is singing. You're merely gazing at me and smiling. This is a clue to who's singing. It might be Rei, right? Because the blue wind is now knocking at the door to your heart. Well, not the blue wind, a blue wind is now knocking at the door to your heart. And you're gazing at me and smiling. So we know he's gazing at Rei and smiling. And she is a blue wind. So is it Rei? The next verse is something gently touching, you're so intent on seeking it out, that you can't even see your fate yet with such innocent eyes. The something here is basically the answer to our questions, the answer to what the thesis is, right? Shinji doesn't know what he is looking for most of the show. He gets feelings he doesn't understand. He is often very confused, but he keeps going on. He is intent on something. Like multiple times he will leave his Eva, say he'll never pilot it, leave Nerve, but he always comes back for some reason. A reason that he himself does not know. There is something out there he's looking for, but he's not aware of what that is yet, right? So that you cannot even see your fate yet with such innocent eyes. Now, this is important because this establishes that the person who's singing here can see Shinji and know what he's doing, understands Shinji and Shinji's intent, even when Shinji himself does not know it, like doesn't know what he wants or what he's feeling, right? And the person singing is intimately familiar with Shinji, more so than pretty much everyone else, right? That they understand his intent, they understand what he is feeling, and they know what he is doing at any given time, right? And so we will move on to the next verse. Someday, but someday I think you'll find out that what's on your back are wings that are for heading for the far off future. Right. So, first of all, the wings here are power. Let's say Shinji's apotheosis, right? That he has wings, he has the potential to become an angel, right? He has the power, the potential to do so. But that's not the main issue here. It's not about the power, it's not about the wings. It's about the purpose of said power, right? What's on your back are wings that are for heading off to the far future, heading for the far future. It's not just that what's on your back are wings, what's on your back are wings for the purpose of heading for the far off future, right? So it's not just about having the power, it's not about being powerful, it's about the purpose of said power, what you do with it, right? What Shinji has to do with the power that he has. That's what this verse is about. It's making Shinji aware that one, yes, you do have the power, you have the potential, but it's not just about that. It's also about how you use it, right? And the second part is another demonstration that whoever is singing knows a lot about the world of Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's like they demonstrate a knowledge of the future of events that have not yet happened, as if they have happened, or as if they have seen them happen, or know how they will happen, right? They are speaking to Shinji in very determinate terms, very absolute terms. The wings on your back are for heading to the far off future. Someday I think you'll find out. Now, the translation issues that I mentioned, this is the first one. I think here is doesn't fit, right? I've looked at different translations. I've looked at the Spanish translation for the lyrics, and there it says creo que, it says I believe, right? And I've looked at translations from other sources that are not the wiki. Some of them just straight up do not have this. They say, but someday you'll find out, blah blah blah. So I think the word I think here does not fit. And I've looked at different translations. Not all of them have it. Some of them are I believe instead of I think. Now, I believe would be a much better fit here than I think. Not having anything at all fits really well also. But I also understand the constraints and the issues, the problems one might face while translating, especially from Japanese to English. It doesn't really translate very well. I speak 4 languages. I know how difficult translation is. Trying to keep the meaning or trying to keep the word for word, it's difficult. But the 2 words I think here don't really fit, and if it was I believe, it would be much better. If it wasn't there at all, it would be better also. But as I said, I took the lyrics straight up from the wiki, straight off from the wiki. Did not change any of them, because if I'm gonna start changing lyrics, I might as well change the whole thing to what I think it should be. So I kept it, but I think here it doesn't really fit. For one reason or another, it's there, but I don't think it should be, or it should at least be I believe. Regardless of that, this verse speaks about the future of Evangelion. It speaks about Shinji's future, his power, and that it's not just about his power, it's about the purpose and how he uses them, right? This also gives us another clue to the person singing. They talk about the future like they've seen it or know how it will happen. That's very important also to discerning who the person singing is, right? So these first 4 verses have already established a couple things. One, the song is structured in the form of a one-sided conversation with Shinji. The person singing is speaking directly to Shinji. Now, whether Shinji can hear that person, whether Shinji is aware of the conversation, we'll get to that later. But this is at least the structure, right? The second thing established is that the singer knows things that are yet to be revealed to us. They speak about the future in absolute terms, like they've already seen it or they already know it. And so they are very aware also of the world of Evangelion, of the main events, the important events that have happened or will happen, right? So these are all very important clues for our first question. Now, moving on. This is the first time we get to the chorus. The chorus changes every time in very, very meaningful and important ways. But now the first one has very important things that it establishes. First of all, the cruel angel's thesis will soon take flight through the window. Once again, we are talking about flight, we're talking about wings. Wings, as we said before, are Shinji's power, his angelic powers, let's say. And here it's saying that the wings established in the previous verse, as we said, Shinji's power. The thesis will take flight, not just the angel itself. The cruel angel's thesis will soon take flight. It's not just the angel himself or the angel itself taking flight, it's the cruel angel's thesis that is taking flight. So it's not just about the power of taking flight, it is the purpose. The thesis is what's gonna take flight through the window, right? It's not just the power, it's not just the angel itself, but the idea, the purpose of said angel will be the thing that takes flight. Now, what is the purpose? What is the power? This is our first clue to that. With surging hot pathos, if you betray your memories. Pathos is the very important word here. A quality, well, the definition, the dictionary definition is a quality that evokes pity or sadness. It's not just a quality. It can be a demonstration or a performance that evokes feelings of sadness and sorrow in whoever sees or experiences that demonstration or performance. So here it is saying that if Shinji fails to learn his lessons, if he betrays his memories, then he will make the world feel his deep suffering and pain. Shinji suffers a lot. He is in a lot of pain. He is wronged and he lives many injustices. If he betrays his memories, if he does not learn his lessons, then Shinji will make the world suffer just like he did. And that's the pathos, right? Surging hot pathos. The world will feel Shinji's suffering if he does not know better. And that would be the purpose of his wings in that case. Embracing the sky or universe. Now again, this is one of the translation stuff going on. It says Sora in Japanese, right? I don't know Japanese, but it's translated as sky or universe. Another translation that might fit, in my opinion, is the heavens. The show is very biblical, very holy, right? It has so many themes from the Bible. We're talking about angels. Angels come down from the heavens most of the time. So embracing the sky, it can be the universe, it can be the heavens. So embracing the sky and shining, young boy becomes the legend. Here, this person singing is urging Shinji that instead of having the world feel his deep sorrow and pain, they're urging him to embrace the world and embrace the universe, the sky, and become legend and shine. Do the right thing, let's say. And we'll get to what the right thing is later. But here, what's important is that pathos is established, and pathos is basically continuing the cycle of violence, Shinji inflicting his own pain upon the world, using his wings, his power, and we're gonna talk about a lot more about his wings or his power and the purpose of said power. Now, sleeping for a long time in the cradle of my love. Sleeping for a long time in the cradle of my love. This is, I think, very obviously talking about episode 20, where Shinji becomes one with the LAC or LAL liquid. I forgot its name exactly. That's in his Eva. He becomes one with his Eva, and he dreams. So Shinji, quote unquote, sleeps inside his Eva, not just physically, because he's physically not there, right? He is part of his Eva right now, part of the same consciousness, and he is in the cradle of the Eva. So is the Eva singing, right? It's the cradle of my love. Once again, first person, right? Another clue. They're speaking in first person. You're in the cradle of my love. An obvious reference to episode 20. Continuing the verse. The morning is coming when you alone will be called by a messenger of dreams. Now, you alone is emphasized here. Why? Because Shinji, up until episode 20, has never faced an angel alone. Not truly alone. Not yet. Every angel Shinji faces, he either has the help of Rei, the help of Asuka, the help of Misato, the help of the nerve agents. He has someone there, like maybe on the comms, maybe someone has his back, right? So he has support, he has something. Every time he faces an angel, there's other people there facing that angel with him. But the person singing here is maybe warning Shinji, maybe informing him that the morning is coming. It is coming, right? Once again, we're speaking of the future in absolute terms. It will happen. The morning is coming when you alone will be called by a messenger of dreams. Now, a messenger of dreams, messenger is another word for angel. Angels are messengers. The word messenger can also be replaced with the word angel. This is not like a translation error or anything. This is like the definition of an angel is a messenger. So, a messenger of dreams is an angel of dreams. In this episode, Shinji sleeps in his Eva, becomes one with its consciousness, and dreams. In that dream, he is told that he alone will be facing an angel of dreams very soon. He will be. The morning is coming. And the messenger of dreams is, of course, episode 24, Kaworu. We'll talk a lot more about that episode when we get to it. But the angel in that episode is one that Shinji must face alone, and that messenger of dreams holds the truth that Shinji must learn. And all this is further evidence that the person singing knows the future. It's basically safe to assume that at this point they are to a degree omniscient, or have seen the events of the show, like they know how they will proceed at least until the final episode. Now they're urging Shinji to act in a certain way, as we established in the chorus. They're warning him of acting in a certain way with pathos. and they are informing him of future events. So at this point, when this verse is being said, let's say in the chronological order of the show, this is referencing episode 20, but it is before episode 24, before Shinji has to face the angel alone. So again, it speaks of the future, but it has never spoken of anything during or after the finale of the show, and so it's safe to assume that whoever is speaking has a lot of knowledge, perhaps maybe omniscient, up until the finale. Up until then, it's safe to assume they know everything. They've either seen it or know exactly how it will play out. And they are trying to influence the outcome of said events that are set in stone. But their outcome is not. So, right now we have enough to answer the first question of who is singing. This is one of our main questions. Now, first let's establish what we know. The first time that that person references themselves in first person is in the second verse, where they say, merely gazing at me. This is referenced while talking about Rei. The second one is in the cradle of my love, which is said while talking about the episode where Shinji sleeps in his Eva and dreams. In the cradle of the Eva's love, in the cradle of my love. So this is once again first person in reference to the Eva. Third thing we know is the person is very intimate with and knows Shinji very well. And they have a deep knowledge of the entire world, of the past and the future of the world, up until, as we said, the finale maybe. So one thing that when it's like either or, right? So the first two things are an either or, it's either Rei or Eva. I would like to say that it is both. Why? The one individual that fits all of the information we've just established is Shinji's mother Yui. A part of Yui's soul is in Rei. Another part of her soul is in the Eva unit 01, Shinji's Eva. Yui is very intimate and knows with Shinji, she's his mother, and she knows him very well, right? She raised him up until she died. So she is very familiar with who Shinji is deep inside. And they would have a vast knowledge of the world because they, much like Shinji in episode 20, became one with that quote-unquote dream, became one with that entity. So they would be able to know a lot. They would have a lot of insight about the angels, about what's going on in the world. So I believe it is Yui who is singing the Cruel Angels Thesis. And another candidate could be Misato. Misato is a very strong argument. But I think that, once again, Misato is only one part, right? Just like Rei is one part of who is singing. Just like the Eva is just one part of the whole, Misato is a more metaphorical part of the whole. So Misato is part of the concept of Shinji's mother. Misato is a maternal figure to Shinji. She basically takes him into her house. She feeds him, she protects him, she looks after him, right? She tries to tend to his emotional needs, to his physical needs. So Misato is Shinji's maternal figure. She is, for a lack of better term, Shinji's mother during the events of the show, but she is not Shinji's mother, right? She is part of what Shinji's mother as a concept is. She is a metaphorical kind of Shinji's mother. So she is just one part of the whole, just like Rei, just like the Eva. And so I believe it is Yui who is singing, and Misato is part of that, but not that in itself. She is not the whole, she is part of the whole. Just like Rei and Eva, as I said. And so yeah, now, knowing that Yui is singing the song, singing to Shinji, is very important, and it will provide us with a lot of insight later on as to what she's trying to say, why, and what's the goal, what's going on. What is the thesis question, what's the thesis answer? These are our two other main questions. And knowing that Yui is the one singing will give us a great reference point to understand the lyrics and what she is trying to say. So, moving on to another verse. Now, moving on to another verse. Moonlight reflects off the nape of your slender neck. Stopping all time throughout the world, I want to confine them, but... Moonlight reflects off the nape of your slender neck. This is Shinji beginning to take flight, right? So this is the beginning of the end. Shinji is beginning to, let's say, ascend, or Shinji is having his apotheosis as an angel. He is beginning to ascend. The end has begun. Moonlight reflects off the nape of your slender neck, I believe meaning that he has begun to take flight. Shinji has begun taking flight. Stopping all time throughout the world. I want to confine them, but... Now, This marks the beginning of the Cruel Angel's thesis, right? The beginning of the finale, let's say. Shinji believes he knows the answer. He wants to confine them. I want to confine them. Now, I is once again first person. We're speaking in first person, and this is the person singing, speaking in first person. Now, as we said, Yui is singing. Yui just said, I want to confine them. But now, when Shinji makes his decision to confine them, he is making that decision during a time where he is very close to or a part of the greater being that is Yui. So it would make sense that Yui would say I here. But at the same time, Yui has a semblance of individuality, which is why there is doubt. There is but and 3 dots. Now, who are they? Right? I want to confine them. Who are they? They is basically everyone. Every living person on Earth. Shinji has endured pain and injustice from everybody around him. He feels wrong, and he wants to confine everything and everyone into a singular being, into the primordial soup. This, like, being that is everyone and everything at the same time. That being would be incapable of hurting anyone because the being is everyone. And in doing so, Shinji would be stopping all time and eliminating all individuality in the world. If there are no individuals, if there is no one, if everyone is just one being, then no one can hurt anybody anymore. No one can get hurt by anybody anymore. But then nothing would happen. Time would stop and individuality would be lost. That is what Shinji believes is the right answer. That is what Shinji wants right now. I want to confine them. But there is doubt. So, what is the thesis question? Prepare yourselves for the yap. The thesis question posed by the Cruel Angel's thesis is the struggle for meaning in a world full of pain and suffering. A world where evil people and evil corporations rule the world. They exploit everyone for their own gain and their own power, and they destroy the lives of innocent children, right? They kill the innocence of children. Now, who are these evil people and these evil corporations? In the show, is Shinji's father, the literal face of the devil, right? He is literally the devil himself. I can get into why Shinji's father is literally the devil himself later. We're not talking about Shinji's father here, fuck him, but just keep in mind that he is literally the devil himself, given form as a human, as a man. And the evil corporations are, of course, Sealy, and some of the other corporations are mentioned in the show, but mainly Sealy, or Seal. Not sure. I'm gonna call it Sealy. If this bothers you, deal with it. Now, Sealy's logo deserves its own analysis, but that's not what we're talking about. The important thing is that this corporation wants to basically destroy the world and to cause suffering to everyone for their own goals, to further their own goals, to further their own power. And here are just some few examples from our real world to how our real world ties into the world of Evangelion. Each one of these corporations has caused infinite suffering and pain to infinite amount of human beings and destroyed the innocence of so many children, destroyed their lives for their own gain, for their own power. So you can take a look at these there. And these are all Sealy. They're all basically ruled or controlled by evil men, just like Shinji's father, an evil man, the reincarnation of the devil, the face of the devil, the face of evil. So that is the thesis question. It is, what is the meaning, or how to find meaning in a world that is so corrupt, that is so painful, that is so full of injustice and wrongdoing, that even innocent children cannot exercise or have their innocence because they're being exploited by these people that are in power, or these corporations that are in power. One of the answers that, or the answer that Shinji comes to, Shinji is the Cruel Angel, and the answer that Shinji comes to is to confine everything and everyone, to just stop it all, stop all the pain, confine everything into a singular being, incapable of hurting anyone, stopping all time, eliminating all individuality. But that is not the answer, because Shinji still has doubt. He could not do that, right? In the verse before, we said that he wants to confine them, but I want to confine them, but there is doubt. This is not the answer. This is the question of what is the meaning, what can we do? The answer has not yet been revealed. So, moving on. So if two people being brought together by fate has any meaning, I think that it is a Bible for learning freedom. This is referencing episode 24, right? Holy, this episode, probably one of the best episodes of the entire show, one of the most meaningful ones for sure. Now, if two people being brought together by fate has any meaning, the two people here are Kaworu, this guy over here, and Shinji. These are the two people being brought together by fate. And if it has any meaning, then it is a Bible for learning freedom. Now, Bible here. It's not the Bible from the Christianity, right? From the Jesus, no. Bible here is a message, and Kaworu here is an angel, as we have established. As we know, I mean. And Kaworu, the angel, brings the message, Bible, of freedom. It's a Bible for learning freedom. Kaworu delivers the message to Shinji. The message is freedom. In one of the previous verses, we said, "The morning is coming when you alone will be called by a messenger of dreams." Kaworu is the messenger of Shinji's dreams, his dream of freedom, right? He brings with him the Bible to teach him freedom. Here, Yui now aims to guide Shinji towards a different answer, right? The answer is not pathos. The answer is not to confine them. She is urging him to remember Kaworu, the final messenger, the final angel. She wants Shinji to see that as painful and horrible that day was, the day when he met Kaworu, it was also very beautiful. It was also very revealing for Shinji. He learned something about himself, about being with someone else, about the freedom and beauty of sharing this bond with another person. And Kaworu tried to teach that to Shinji. He wanted to show him what it is to have the freedom to be whoever you want, to express your emotions, the freedom to choose. So many different choices made by Kaworu in that episode, right? The freedom to love whoever you want, to be with whoever you want, to be whoever you want. These are all things that Shinji has been denied his whole life, and things that Kaworu tries to show Shinji in that episode. Now, Kaworu is also very important because he is the only other proof Shinji has that he is lovable. Shinji, throughout the show, believes he is an unlovable mess, an unlovable monster, and the only exception to that rule, up until episode 24, is Shinji's mother. As much doubt and as much hate he might harbor for himself as being an unlovable person, Yui's memory, his mother's memory, challenges that every time that she is mentioned, or every time that she, even the thought of her occurs, that belief within him is challenged. Kaworu is the first time that belief in him has been challenged since Yui's departure, since Yui's death. Kaworu shows Shinji how freeing it is to feel something to someone, towards someone else, that he is lovable. And that episode, I think we all know exactly how it ends. The devil himself, Shinji's father, the reincarnation, or the face of evil, the reincarnation of the devil, takes over Shinji's autonomy, takes over his freedom to make the choice to kill Kaworu or not, and in doing so, takes all of Shinji's autonomy and freedom, perverts Kaworu's message, and makes it about Shinji being helpless and unable to exercise his own freedoms that were just given to him by Kaworu. Now, Kaworu, up until the second he died, he was free. He made the choice to let Shinji kill him because he wanted to show Shinji that we have the choice here, that Kaworu had the choice to fuse with Lilith, to bring on the second impact or whatever, but he knows that doing so will kill Shinji, and he is demonstrating to Shinji that he loves him so much he would rather die than see him perish. The choice Kaworu makes is to die so that Shinji lives, because Shinji is valuable. Shinji is lovable. That is Kaworu's message of freedom, of love. And that message is perverted and poisoned and corrupted by the devil when the devil takes over Shinji's autonomy and kills the message of freedom, and kills love, and kills Kaworu. So that's what's happening there. That is what Yui is trying to remind Shinji of. Not the corruption of the message, not the devil's trickery, not the devil exploiting Shinji and taking away his autonomy, no, but the message of freedom, the messenger of freedom, the message he delivered, and reminding Shinji that he is loved, that he is lovable, that he has the freedom and he can exercise it. So that's what Yui is trying to remind Shinji of here. If two people being brought together by fate has any meaning, if there's anything you should learn from that day, it is that that is a Bible for learning freedom. That day, as horrible as it ended, you must have remembered, you must have known, you must have felt that freedom. That's what Yui is reminding Shinji of here. And now we have the chorus once again. It's a little bit different, as I said, and we can understand it much more deeply now. So, the cruel angel's thesis. The sorrow now begins. The sorrow, the pathos, all of the suffering Shinji has endured has now coalesced, and he must make a choice. You held tight to the form of life when you woke up from that dream. Once again, this is episode 20. Shinji returns to us in episode 20. He returns in his physical form unchanged. The reason why Shinji is able to return to his physical form, to us, unchanged, well, unchanged I mean physically, very changed mentally, of course, but it's because he held tight to his individuality. He still values his individuality. Even at episode 20, even at that point, he still valued his individuality enough to remember who he is and to be able to come back to our world. You held tight to the form of life, to your individuality, when you woke up from that dream on that day. And once again, you shine brighter than anyone else, young boy, become the legend. Here, it's because at this point now, chronologically, we are now at the beginning of the end, right? We are at the final episode. The Yui's knowledge of the future is very limited here. She doesn't know the future now. The future is not set in stone. The future depends on Shinji's decision, and she is trying to guide him towards the correct decision. Her knowledge of the future is limited to the finale, to the last few episodes, to the last two episodes, I think. So, you shine brighter than anyone else. At this point, by the finale, Asuka has completely collapsed under the pressure of her trauma, right? She tried to kill herself, she is catatonic, she's hospitalized, she cannot do what needs to be done, right? She cannot ascend, she cannot become the angel, right? She is not the cruel angel. So Asuka has been crushed under the pressure of her trauma, she's done. Rei's soul is fragmented and tortured, she is also very fucked up at this point and is not incapable of doing what needs to be done. Shinji is the only one that is mostly just barely intact in the end, just barely enough to do something. So you shine brighter than anyone else. He is the only one remaining that can do what needs to be done, that can ascend, that can become the cruel angel, right? All that. Young boy become the legend. Now, the difference here between the other choruses and this one, if you're listening to audio only, you might not have noticed this, but you shine brighter than anyone else, there's a period after it, and young boy become the legend is, let's say, an isolated sentence here. It's because this time it's words of encouragement. It's Yui urging and encouraging Shinji to become legend. Another one of my favorite verses. Now, people create history while weaving love. Even knowing I'll never be a goddess or anything like that, I live on. Yui here is talking about herself and her own life, right? This is Yui's answer to the thesis question, or at least the answer she is trying to encourage and help Shinji to reach. History is created in the present, so when she says people create history while weaving love, she's talking about people who are alive right now in the present. People create history, people live in the present right now while weaving love. To love and be loved. That is all she wants for her son. That is all she wants for Shinji. She wants him to live a life where he can be loved and where he loves. And continues by saying, even knowing I'll never be a goddess or anything like that, I live on. Now, Yui might have not ascended to godhood, right? Yui is not an angel, Yui is not a god or a goddess. But her presence in the show, throughout the entire show, like I can remember very vividly in my first watch, Yui is unmistakable. Her presence in the show is unmistakable in so many of the characters. In Shinji, in his father, at Nerve, right? Her presence is unmistakable in the show. She's almost omnipresent. She's not a goddess or anything like that, right? She was just a human. But she's nigh omnipresent, or at least that's how all the characters make us feel about her. That she still has such a strong effect on all of them, that she still lives through within all of them. When she says I live on, Yui lives on in so many different forms. Because of her love, Yui lives on in so many forms. She loved her son, and she lives on as a part of him in his memories, in his life. And now this one is a little bit fucked up, but Shinji's father, her husband's love for her, now his love is very perverted, and he perverts his love for her by creating Rei and putting a part or a fragment of Yui's soul in Rei. Now, as we said, he is the devil, so when you give the devil love, he will pervert it, he will fuck it up and make Rei, which is like holy shit. But that is one form of how Yui still lives on, and because of her work, because she loved her work, right? She was able to live on, or a part of her, a fragment of her, lives on in EVA Unit 01. And by everyone loving her and her loving so many people, she has become immortalized in their memories as part of them, as part of this world. Again, while watching the show, you get this feeling that Yui is so important to everyone, to all of the main characters and all of the main events. She is there, but she is not all the time. So without ascending, without being a goddess or anything like that, Yui lives on. And that is because when she was alive, when she was creating history, she was weaving love. And that's all she wants for Shinji. That's what she wants for her son. She wants him to weave love and create history that way. Now, next verse. Once again, we have the chorus, right? A little bit different each time. The cruel angel's thesis will soon take flight through the window. Now, through the window. The cruel angel's thesis, once again, that is Shinji's thesis, Shinji's answer, his purpose, right? How he will change the world. The cruel angel's thesis will soon take flight through the window. Through the window means that the cruel angel's thesis, that whatever Shinji decides to do, whatever he does, will affect every single person. You can think about it as like any living person, any person like you, me, anyone, can look out their window and see the effects or feel the effects of what Shinji will have done. Good or bad, whatever Shinji does will affect every single person. And that is what Yui is telling him right now. The cruel angel's thesis will soon take flight through the window. Will soon take flight, once again, it's kind of saying that the decision has not yet been made. The final decision has not yet been made, right? So, with surging hot pathos, if you betray your memories. Shinji must not forget his memories of those who loved him, of Yui, of Misato. Or those who he loves, like Asuka, like Kaworu. He must not betray his memories. He must not forget that he is loved and he loves these people. If he forgets, then the entire world will feel his surging hot pathos. His suffering, his sorrow will be felt by everyone. But embracing the sky and shining, see, this time it's not a period, it's a comma. Embracing the sky and shining, young boy become the legend. So, embrace the freedom, embrace the sky and the universe or the heavens are freedom, right? So she is telling him to embrace the freedom that you have and give it back to others. That's shining. Break the cycle of abuse, break the cycle of violence. You have now attained power, you have wings, you have freedom. Share that freedom, use that power, fly, take flight through the window and become the legend. Become the person who uses their power, their freedom, to break the cycle of violence and abuse, to break the cycle of sorrow and suffering, and share that freedom you have with everyone. Allow everyone to be free, just like you have become. And that's the end of the song. That is what it's trying to say. So, what is the thesis answer? What is the conclusion? What is the thesis of the cruel angel's thesis? The thesis answer is, well, the answer to the question is finding meaning. What is the meaning in a world full of cruelty? To fight for freedom and embrace it, to provide it to others, to love and be loved, to live in the present, live a life of love, and share life, share love with others. That is what Yui is trying to tell Shinji. Shinji is the cruel angel, not because Shinji is cruel. This is very important. Shinji is not an inherently cruel person. Shinji has been through so much pain. Shinji is the cruel angel not because Shinji is cruel. No, he is the messenger of cruelty. Through Shinji, all of the cruelty in the world, all of the pain, all of the sorrow, it all amasses within him. It is all coalesced within him. But the thesis, the choice, the answer to all of this pain and sorrow and cruelty is freedom and love. That's what Yui is trying to tell Shinji. That's what the show is trying to tell us. How? During the show, right while you're watching it, hope is not something you are really like feeling, or not even intended to feel, I think. The show is very somber, it's very sorrowful, it's very depressing. But every time you finish an episode, right, you will just have finished seeing Shinji or all of the other kids being abused and being exploited by Shinji's father or by Sealer or whatever, right? You will have just finished seeing them get battered and beat up in a fight against an angel, barely surviving, just barely making it out alive. And it's so sad and depressing, and to see these children, these innocent children, just having to go through all of this, it's so sad and depressing and sorrowful. But then you click on next episode and you get this energetic, fun, and hopeful intro. You just start singing along and you're happy again somehow, right? Or at least maybe not happy again, but at least that sorrow and that depression is challenged so starkly by the intro. And this is very much on purpose, right? This is because through all that depression and sadness, Yui is trying to tell Shinji, Yui is trying to tell us that there is hope, that there is a different answer, that it does not have to be that way. Yui is hoping to create a better world, is hoping to communicate that with Shinji and with us. She's giving us hope at the beginning of every episode. She is reminding Shinji of all the things to come and all of the things that he will have experienced and what he must learn from them, the meaning he must learn from them, his memories. Kaworu, the messenger of dreams, the messenger of freedom, the people who love him, the people who he loves. She reminds him of that at the beginning of every single episode. She reminds us of that too. This song, the Cruel Angel's Thesis song, what Yui's message is hope, is have hope. And through that, at the end, Shinji rejects the allure of the primordial soup. He no longer wants to confine them. He embraces individuality and freedom. He remembers that he is loved. He remembers that he loves these people, and he values his individuality, and the individuality of every single human being is very important. The freedom he has, he must use to free these other people who are being subjugated and exploited. So when Shinji rejects the primordial soup, rejects the thesis of sorrow, rejects the pathos, Shinji will have found the answer that Yui has been trying to provide him. He will have found hope, and he will share his love and freedom with all. So, at the end, Yui's answer, Yui's thesis, becomes Shinji's thesis. He embraces freedom and love, and he becomes legend. And that's when everyone congratulates him. And that is the meaning, the thesis, you could say, of the Cruel Angel's Thesis, and maybe perhaps the entire shows. Ramiel, my beloved, thank you.